Serverless computing is very important because it is useful and also because it comes with various benefits. Serverless computing mainly serves two purposes: providing technological advancements and reducing infrastructure cost. AWS Lambda is serverless computing provided to the users by the Amazon Web Services. It runs code in response to events and it is a very useful service for the users. Hello everyone, I'm Mariam from Data is Good, working as a data science evangelist. At Data is Good, we have trained thousands and thousands of students in our live classes and helped them make successful data science careers. If you are new here, then please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get all the latest updates and the new content. So in this particular video, we will learn AWS Lambda and what are the important reasons to know about AWS Lambda. So coming to the agenda of this video, first of all, we will learn about what exactly serverless computing is, the benefits of serverless computing, the disadvantages of serverless computing. And moving forward, we will be learning what is AWS Lambda, advantages and disadvantages of using AWS Lambda, companies that use AWS Lambda, the importance of Lambda Concepts, the configuration of Lambda with S3, outcome. After the end of this video, you will get all the important knowledge of AWS Lambda that will be extremely beneficial for you to learn. So you will be able to use Lambda and do so many things where Lambda is important. We will start with the topic of our video. AWS Lambda is a form of serverless computing, so we need to learn what serverless computing is. Serverless computing is an architecture in which code execution is fully managed by a cloud provider. In this video, we will talk about the Lambda service of AWS. Serverless computing is opposite to the traditional method of developing and managing applications on the servers. Serverless is based on functions, or more specifically, functions as a service, in which developers divide their applications into small, stateless chunks that can execute without regard for the underlying server. It means that when deploying code, developers do not have to worry at all about managing, provisioning, or maintaining the servers. So previously, a developer would have to define how much storage and database capacity would be required before deployment, which showed the entire process. And now we will be talking about the benefits of using serverless computing. The first benefit of using serverless computing is low cost. Using serverless computing can have a positive effect on the budget, as when we use serverless computing, maintenance costs, they are relatively low as there is no server hardware. Work costs will also be lower because we do not require a team that is there for server monitoring, and maintenance is absolutely not necessary. We do not need to monitor the way we used to monitor 24/7. And you know, the best part of serverless computing is the bill we need to pay is based on run times. Serverless computing services charge, so we never need to pay for more than a service. The second benefit of using serverless computing is that it makes operations simple. Serverless computing ensures performance and it fulfills company requirements. Companies profit from resourcing for other projects and eliminating the need for scalability planning and other strategies that come in conjunction with conventional computer models. Thirdly, it increases productivity. The nature of cloud computing means that end user requests are limited to relatively simple coding requirements. Software developers who understand hardware always deliver better applications. Serverless computing enables rapid application building so that developers can leverage their know-how. This allows developers to work on other projects to improve the business model or service portfolio of a company. The reason people are turning to serverless computing is because it offers more benefits to the users like high availability, no need of managing the servers. We can do scaling. It eliminates idle capacity. So we have talked about the benefits of serverless computing, but there cannot be anything without some drawbacks. And now we will discuss some drawbacks of serverless computing. Number one is latency response. One disadvantage of moving to serverless computing could be response latency. It simply means the time between the stimulation of a request and the reaction of a program. Serverless computing does not always work in the cloud. It is powered between requests. The drifting and processing of code can take several seconds. Well, this is the reason it is a point against serverless computing, especially if we are working on the specific case of use where timing is critical. The second limitation of serverless computing is security. We must consider security as we would any other aspect of technology. In terms of serverless computing, security is the responsibility of the servicing company, not the consumer. A larger attack plane exists with multiple entry points into the server. Now, customers, they may feel more secure when security demands are transferred to the company that owns the server. Large servers with multiple entry points, on the other hand, they may be more vulnerable. If an attack occurs, consumers have no recourse, relying instead on the provider to reveal, remediate, and recover. The third disadvantage of serverless computing is restriction. Because vendors restrict resource limits, serverless computing is not appropriate for high computing operations. Even if there were no such constraints, certain applications would be prohibitively expensive to procure from a third-party vendor. So we have talked about serverless computing, and now we will start with our main topic, that is AWS Lambda. So what exactly is AWS Lambda? Well, AWS Lambda is a service that computes code without the use of a server. In AWS Lambda, code is executed in response to the events in AWS services, such as adding or removing files from an S3 bucket, updating Amazon DynamoDB tables, sending an HTTP request to Amazon API Gateway, and so on. Lambda is useful as it handles the provisioning and management of the servers that run the code. With AWS Lambda, we can run our code without the server. We can use it without a server, which means we do not need to manage our servers as well, and it reduces our work and makes everything easier. With Lambda, we can run and operate our applications or backend service with zero administration. That means AWS will manage everything on its own. AWS Lambda function helps us to focus on our core product and business logic. Instead of managing operating systems, access control, OS patching, right sizing, provisioning, scaling, etc. Great, so now we have some idea of what AWS Lambda is. And now we will talk about the advantages of AWS Lambda. The first advantage of using AWS Lambda is cost efficiency. As we all know that Lambda service is a pay-as-you-go model. We all know the primary advantage of the pay-as-you-go model, and it is self-evident because we only pay for what we use and we can reduce operating costs. None of the prices that we pay at the end of the month is applied to any unused minutes of the server time, as our cost is solely determined by the amount of time the application is used for. Now, another appealing AWS benefit is the way they calculate the server time used by the user. The billing policy rounds up server time to the nearest 100 milliseconds, in contrast to other cloud providers which round up to the nearest hour. Now, several business owners, they have reported significant savings as a result of going serverless. The second benefit of using AWS Lambda is automatic scalability. Suppose our application creates memes and we are advertising everywhere. so that our application gets more users or more viewers. Suppose we made a meme which is showing Ronaldo and a bottle of soft drink, and people loved it, because of which they started sharing, and in some hours it got viral. As the meme is viral, this means that our application will be overloaded with server requests. Before, we used to keep track and we used to scale up and down based on the need, but no more. With AWS Lambda Serverless, the application scales automatically. It makes absolutely no difference if you need 5 requests 1 minute and 6,000 the next. The nature of serverless allows for any unexpected spike in usage. And the best part is that we do not even have to intervene or scale up to make it happen, as it will just happen automatically. The third benefit of using AWS Lambda is less management. The net result of automatic scalability is less time spent on server maintenance. We do not need to worry about the underlying servers because the Lambda runs on managed AWS infrastructure. So if we already have someone in place to serve as administrator for those systems, then we may not need that person in the future, saving money to be paid to the technical team. The fourth benefit of using AWS Lambda is consistent performance. AWS Lambda enables us to reduce code execution time by selecting the appropriate memory size for our function. We can also use provisioned concurrency to initialize a function and have it respond in 2-digit milliseconds. We have seen some of the benefits of using AWS Lambda, and now we will look at some disadvantages of using the service. The first disadvantage is duration of execution. If a Lambda function runs for some minutes, then there are chances that it may get terminated. Some tasks, such as converting a video file format, it takes longer than the allotted time. DOS, or denial of service. AWS Lambda limits the number of concurrent executions of all your Lambdas. This limit applies for the entire AWS account. And attempting to load tests while using the same AWS account for both production and testing can result in DOS, or denial of service. The third disadvantage of using Lambda is it is not always cost effective. Yes, we only pay for the function runtime that we use on AWS Lambda. When the load on our application begins to rise, the AWS Lambda cost, it grows proportionally and may end up being higher than the cost of comparable infrastructure. So till now, we have seen some advantages and disadvantages of AWS Lambda. And now we will talk about some companies that use AWS Lambda. And they are Udemy, Cred, Circle CI, Coca-Cola. Moving forward, and we will learn some important Lambda concepts that are extremely crucial for us to know. Well, there are various Lambda concepts, and we will talk about some of the most important ones. The first concept of AWS Lambda is that function is the main thing. When we say that we are creating Lambda, it means we are talking about creating Lambda function. A function is a resource that is used to run code in Lambda. A function contains code that processes events that you pass into it or that other AWS services send to it. Now, the second important concept of Lambda is event. Well, an event is nothing but JSON formatted document that contains data for a Lambda function to process. That is referred to as an event. The event is converted to an object by the runtime and passed to the function code. When you call a function, you define the event's structure and contents. The third concept of Lambda is trigger. A trigger is a resource or configuration that causes a Lambda function. This includes AWS services that can be configured to invoke a function, custom applications, and event source mappings. An event source mapping is a Lambda resource that reads items from a stream or queue and calls a function. The fourth concept of Lambda is execution environment. An execution environment provides our Lambda function with a secure and isolated runtime environment. An execution environment is in charge of managing the processes and resources that are needed to carry out the function. The fifth concept of Lambda is the runtime. The runtime implements a language-specific environment that operates in an execution environment. We can simply understand that it means language that AWS supports, like Python, Java, Ruby, and other languages. It means the languages in that we can write our code and is supported. The runtime communicates between Lambda and the function by relaying invocation events, context information, and responses. You can use the runtimes provided by Lambda or create your own. The sixth concept of Lambda is concurrency. The number of requests that our function is serving at any given time. That is referred to as concurrency. Lambda creates an instance to handle the event. When the function code has completed its execution, it is ready to handle another request. For example, if a user does HTTPS request, then one Lambda function will be triggered. If 5 requests come at the same time, then in that case, 5 Lambda functions, they will be triggered. By default, the limit is 1000 requests. That means that we can invoke 1000 Lambda that will get triggered simultaneously. If the function is called again while a request is being processed, then another instance is created, increasing the function's concurrency. The seventh concept of Lambda is downstream resources. An AWS service such as DynamoDB tables or Amazon S3 buckets that the Lambda function invokes when it is triggered. Here, when we create an IAM role, we permit the Lambda function to access what we want. Let us say B3 bucket or DynamoDB, and can do the function that we specify. Brilliant. So we have seen important concepts and now we are ready to work in the console and create our Lambda functions. It will make all the concepts clearer. The first step that we have to take is we have to open our favorite browser and open AWS console. We need to log in with our username and our password. We will create an S3 bucket. Then we will click on Services and click on S3. Now we will click on Create Bucket where we will upload the files. So we need to specify bucket name. Select the region in which we want to deploy our bucket and we will click on Create a Bucket. Here we are on the S3 dashboard and we can see the created bucket. We need to create a role that will work with AWS Lambda. We will go to AWS Services and select IAM. Here we will be on the IAM dashboard and we will click on Roles. We have to create a role, so we will click on Create a Role. And here we will get the option to choose the services with which we want to use the role. Then we will click on Lambda and next we will click on Permissions. So we need to add permissions here. And the policies that we will select are Amazon S3 Full Access, AWS Lambda Full Access, CloudWatch Full Access. Next is tags. Well, it is optional to add tags. The next step is that we will enter the role name and role description. Then we will click on Create Role button. We can see that our role is created. Now the last thing that we will do is we will create a Lambda function and we will add S3 trigger. We will click on Services in the AWS dashboard and we will select Lambda. Now we will name the function and we will choose runtime as Python. Here, we will also be choosing the role that we created by clicking on the default execution role and choosing the created role. The last step of creating a Lambda function is that we will click on Create Function. We will add an S3 trigger and we will select the bucket that we created from the bucket dropdown. And we will select Object Created all, as we want the Lambda function to trigger when we upload the file. So we can see trigger created. Now the next step that we will follow is we will trigger AWS Lambda and we will copy paste the code in the code section. Import JSON. Here we will save or deploy the changes and test the function by uploading object in bucket. The next step is we will open S3 and we will select the bucket that we created. We will upload image in our bucket and click Save. Now we will search for CloudWatch service. The next step is we will click on Logs from the left section. We will click on View Log Groups now. Now we will be choosing the log group that we created. We will click on Log Streams to see the output. We can see here the output. We can observe that the Lambda function gets triggered when our file is uploaded in the S3 bucket, and we can see the details are logged in the CloudWatch. Great, so we saw some steps and triggered the Lambda function. In this video, we understood what serverless computing is, AWS Lambda, and we also saw how we can configure it with S3. I hope now all of you have a clear understanding and idea of what Lambda is and how it works. So the assignment for this video is you have to create another Lambda function and this time configure it with DynamoDB. So that is it for this lecture. Also, do not forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and please do subscribe to the channel. Also press the bell icon so that you will be notified when we upload any new content. So I will be meeting you all very soon in another video. Till then, please stay connected and stay safe. Thank you so much for watching.